Today we got some insane geography facts that seem fake, but they're not. Good evening. Hello. Welcome to the show. Hope you guys are doing absolutely beautiful today. My name is Adam, and hello.
Fact 20. The Grand Canyon is not the U.S.'s deepest canyon. For all its fame and the millions of tourists that visit it annually, the Grand Canyon isn't actually the deepest canyon in the U.S.
What is?
It's the deepest canyon in the U.S. is actually Hell's Canyon, with an average depth of about 5,300 feet. But the canyon stretches to over 8,000 feet deep in some places. Meanwhile, the Grand Canyon averages a depth of around 4,000 feet and expands to about 6,000 feet deep at its lowest point. Fact 19.
That is wild.
Hawaii is growing. While other parts of the country are shrinking thanks to erosion and rising sea levels, Hawaii decides to go the opposite way and expand instead. The Big Island of Hawaii, already the biggest island in the U.S. and the youngest of the Hawaiian archipelago, is growing.
You know what I've always wanted to know? I've always wanted to know how big Hawaii is compared to the entire Isle of Ireland. So let's just figure that out. They cut out Northern Ireland. Ah, there. Like, this is obviously Hawaii, the long green one, right? And then obviously Ireland is this one. And Northern Ireland will go out around there a little bit. In my head, I'm trying to mush Hawaii down to like the same shape as Ireland to see if it would be similar size. I think it would be bigger. Hawaii's got 10,000 square miles. Ireland's got 32,000 square miles. Well, okay, I take it all back. Never mind.
Thanks to frequent volcanic activity. Eruptions send lava flows tumbling into the ocean that then harden into new land. From 1983 to 2018 alone, these flows added more than 570 acres of land to Hawaii.
That's crazy.
Fact 18. The water in Devil's Hole gets disturbed by
570 acres in the space of 27 years. My math is definitely wrong there. 37 years. Crazy!
To 2018 alone, these flows added more than 570 acres of land to Hawaii.
Damn.
Fact 18. The water in Devil's Hole gets disturbed by earthquakes around the world. Located in a detached part of Death Valley National Park, Ash Meadows in Nevada, you'll find a strange slit in the ground filled with water called Devil's Hole. Scientists have been puzzled by it for decades because of one weird phenomenon. The water in it gets shaken by earthquakes around the world. We don't mean earthquakes in neighboring California. Earthquakes taking place in Chile, even as far as Indonesia and Japan, have made the water in Devil's Hole splash around as high as 6 feet up the wall.
What?
Fact 17. The furthest eastern and western points of U.S. territories have the same name. The westernmost point in the U.S. territories is Point Udall in Guam, while the easternmost point in the U.S. territories is Point Udall in the Virgin Islands, St. Croix. The one in St. Croix is named after the former U.S. Secretary of the Interior, Stuart Udall, one of the founders of the modern environmental movement. Point Udall in Guam is named after his brother, Maurice Udall, an Arizona congressman and fellow supporter of environmental protection.
Okay.
Fact 16. Los Angeles and San Francisco will one day be neighbors.
What do you mean?
The San Andreas Fault is consuming around 2 inches per year thanks to tectonic activity. That means the northern and southern parts of California are ever so slowly moving closer to each other. So in 15 million years, scientists predict that Los Angeles and San Francisco will be next to each other. Of course, everyone who lives there will probably have melted or been destroyed in some apocalyptic event long before that, but still a cool fact. Fact 15. You can experience 2 time changes.
It's a bit shit we're not going to be around to see all that stuff in it, man. Like, we're all going to be dead. You know, probably in the ground somewhere, or burnt. Ashes floating about. Will literally be nothing. Sorry to put a depressing mark on the video.
Changes in a row when driving through Arizona.
Wait, sorry, what? You can experience 2 time changes in a row when driving through Arizona? Holy sh...
People know that Arizona and Hawaii are the only states that do not observe daylight savings time. But it's not that simple in Arizona. There are parts of the state that do observe daylight savings time. Navajo Nation, which covers a substantial part of Arizona in the northeast, observes daylight savings, falling in line with most of the rest of the U.S. But there is one more catch. One reservation within the Navajo Nation, the Hopi Reservation, has decided not to observe daylight savings. That means if you're driving through northeastern Arizona at the right time of year, the local time could change twice in just a couple of hours.
That is
Fact 14.
wild.
9 states have more cows than people. America, land of the cows. The cattle and beef industry is huge in a lot of U.S. states like Montana, so huge that the state actually has more cows than people, at a ratio of about 2 to 1. Granted, Montana isn't exactly the most heavily populated state in the Union,
2.1
but
million
still it's home to
cows.
2.1 million cows and only 1 million people. South Dakota has the highest ratio of cows.
This is the state of Montana. Look at the size of it, and it only has 1 million people in it. That's got to be one of the biggest states by land. Holy shit, why has it got so little people?
But still, it's home to 2.1 million cows and only 1 million people.
No fucking room
South
for them because
Dakota
so
has
many
the
cows.
highest ratio of cows to people, with 3.5 million cows to almost 890,000 people, a 4 to 1 ratio.
Jesus.
Nebraska, North Dakota, Wyoming, Kansas, Idaho, Oklahoma, and Iowa all round out the rest of the states with more audible moos than English words.
I remember doing a video, and like down here and like down here, this is the part where there's the least amount of people, right? Because either side, east and west side's got like 90% of all population or something like
Fact
that.
13. Kentucky has the world's longest cave system. Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky is home to the longest cave system in the world. Though tourists can only visit about 10 miles of caves on tours, approximately 426 miles of the cave system have been mapped out and explored to date. Though researchers keep finding more. Mammoth absolutely dwarfs the second longest cave system on Earth, Oxbelha, an almost 310-mile-long underwater cave system in the Yucatan Peninsula. Fact 12. Utah is home to the largest living organism by mass on Earth.
What?
In Utah, you'll find a rather unassuming aspen grove nicknamed Pando, the trembling giant. While it might seem like just another wooded area, it's actually an
Tree?
incredibly unique place. Pando is the largest living organism on Earth. The grove is 80,000 years old, and all of the 47,000 genetically identical trees here are actually connected via a single root system. Unfortunately, experts believe Pando is currently dying,
No!
as new trees aren't regenerating like they should. They place most of the blame on cattle and mule deer that eat saplings before they can
Fucking
develop.
dares.
Fact 11. California does not have a higher population than Canada. It's often repeated as a cool geography fact that California has more residents than Canada, the second largest country in the world by area. However, that fact reversed very, very recently, something that hadn't happened since the 1980s.
Let me just. Oh my God, it's true. As of July 1st, 2025, Canada got 41 million, California's 39 million. Still wild though, isn't it? The fact that one state has 39 million people living in it is nuts.
Thanks partly to a surge in immigration, Canada's population has passed 40 million people
40
as of
mil,
June
baby.
2023, while California remains just under 39 million people statewide.
41
So
now.
far, Canada is continuing to experience record population growth, with some experts believing Canada will have a population of 50 million people by 2043. Fact 10. The Statue of Liberty is in New Jersey and New York. The Statue of Liberty is the famous statue that welcomed immigrants to Ellis Island, their first site of America. It's one of the most recognizable symbols of New York, except it's actually in New Jersey, maybe. Well, both states claim it. The truth is somewhat complicated. Lady Liberty sits on Liberty Island, which is owned by the federal government, probably because they'd had enough of New York and New Jersey fighting over it. However, the island is still considered an exclave of New York, but it is completely surrounded by New Jersey's waters. It remains a great argument starter if you're ever in the tri-state area. Fact 9. The U.S. border with Canada is the longest in the world. The U.S.-Canada border is the longest border in the world between two countries. Not only that, but it's also the longest non-militarized border in the world, as the two countries are allies with friendly relations. The length of the border is just over 5,500 miles, which includes both the border between the contiguous U.S. states and Canada, as well as the northwestern...
Oh yeah, I always kind of forget about this border going up between Canada and Alaska. This is nuts, isn't it? Like, what is this? What's going on? What happened here? You know what I mean? What happened here, man? Like, how is this Canada and then there's a line here and the US got this part? What's going on there?
Border between Canada and Alaska. Fact 8. The Great Lakes have over 20% of the world's fresh water.
Yep.
The Great Lakes truly live up to their name, as these massive bodies of water are so huge that they hold 20% of the world's entire fresh water supply, excluding water trapped in glaciers. If you're wondering how much 20% of the world's fresh water supply is, it's approximately 6 quadrillion gallons of water. Fact 7. The U.S. is home to most of the world's tornadoes. America loves to think of itself as exceptional, and in some ways it definitely is. Unfortunately, one of those exceptional facts is that frequent deadly tornadoes are almost entirely a uniquely American phenomenon. The U.S. experiences over 1,200 tornadoes a year, and it tends to get much more violent tornadoes than the rest of the world. And that's because of the country's geography. Warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico gets pulled up toward the center of the U.S. and clashes with dry air coming down from the Rocky
that
Mountains
not a hurricane?
or drifting east from the southwestern desert. Two fronts then clash over the Midwestern states and Texas, creating perfect conditions for tornadoes.
That's a hurricane
Fact
symbol,
6,
man.
Part of North Carolina still belongs to the UK. Ocracoke Island, located on the outer banks of North Carolina, is partly UK soil. So what happened? Did the Revolutionary War not reach the Outer Banks?
We won!
Well, it turns out the land that belongs to the UK is kept as a memorial to a group of brave soldiers. Back during World War II, the US had no effective anti-submarine patrol, and German U-boats would hang out off of the East Coast. The British Royal Navy sent 24 ships to help protect its ally. One of them, the HMS Bedfordshire, was sunk by a German torpedo.
Oh, shit.
Locals buried some of the soldiers that washed up on shore. Eventually, the land was permanently leased to the UK's War Grave Commission, so the men buried there could be laid to rest on British soil.
Nice.
Fact 5.
Nice touch.
19 states can fit into
W
Alaska.
America.
Here we go again with the US's wackiest state. Alaska
What?
is, as we explained, and as many lost explorers and
19 states can fit in Alaska. Are you having a laugh?
hunters have unfortunately had to discover, huge. So big, in fact, that it can fit 19 separate U.S. states within its borders at the same time. No, we're not just talking about tiny
At the
states
same
like
time?
Delaware. Big states like New York and Florida are crammed in there as well. Alaska can fit Florida, Connecticut, Delaware, and Indiana. Throw in Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, and Massachusetts. Then you can add New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania. Let's not forget about Rhode Island, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vermont, Virginia, and West Virginia, and then still have some room for dessert. Fact 4. If you walk
That's
south
wild.
of Detroit, there's a way you can enter Canada. There's a part of Canada that dips down below Detroit. It's really easy to get there. All you have to do is take a tunnel from Detroit to Windsor, Canada, imaginatively named the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel. The tunnel's only about a mile long. You'll have to get your passport checked, though. Fact 3. New Orleans used to be
really?
above sea level. Louisiana is famous for its jazz, its beignets,
Yep.
its hearty cuisine, and the fact that a lot of it is susceptible to being underwater. However, this wasn't always the case. In fact, New Orleans used to be
Underwater?
squarely above sea level, but human intervention has changed that. From the 1700s onward, people erected levees to prevent springtime flooding. Good for them in the short term, but in the long term, it caused the soil to subside lower and lower. Then
Damn.
drainage systems were installed to divert the frequent stormwater that plagued the New Orleans area. Unfortunately, it
Oh, is that
greatly
like the
accelerated the
swampy
process
area?
of subsidence, causing the city and the surrounding areas to sink lower and lower. Today, around 49% of Louisiana is below sea level as a result.
Jesus.
But there's an even crazier fact coming up soon. Fact 2. The water in Lake Tahoe would easily cover all of California. Lake Tahoe is one of the most beautiful destinations in
Wow.
California. It's popular all year round for skiing and snowboarding
It
in
must
the
be
nearby
deep.
mountains in winter and water sports on the crystal clear lake in the summer. But the lake is also pretty deep. Deeper than most people imagine.
How
Lake
deep?
Tahoe has 37 trillion gallons of water within it. That means if the lake were emptied out, it would not only cover the entire state of California, but actually submerge it under 14 inches of water. Fact 1.
Holy
The U.S.
shit.
is home to 3 supervolcanoes.
Oh!
Here it is, one of the most jaw-dropping and slightly scary geography facts about the U.S. The USA is home to 3 different supervolcanoes. A
This
category
is... I've never done a video on volcanoes before. Maybe I should do that.
of volcano so powerful, it's capable of ejecting more than 240 cubic miles of ash, lava, and everything else that erupts out of a volcano.
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, man. I think between a hurricane, earthquake, tornadoes, I think volcanoes might be the scariest. Thoughts on that? What, do you agree or nah? Because if one of these big lads ejaculates... I can't believe I just said ejaculate. Oh dear. If one of these big lads explodes... That doesn't sound right, does it? Why am I saying big lad? If one of these volcanoes erupts, just say it the way it's fucking supposed to be said, Adam, and you just look up and you see all that ash and lava just raining down hell. Nurse, you can't do nothing. Can't do nothing. There's a movie called Dante's Peak I watched back in the day, but I also watched it like recently. Great movie. Pierce Brosnan, great movie. And that's the movie that stuck with me because there's a scene in it where the little grandmother has to get out and push the boat because the boat's sinking, but the water she's pushing the boat through is acid. It's burning her skin, but she's pushing her little family. Sad, man.
Comparison, the average volcanic eruption is thousands of times smaller, with a volcanic explosivity index or VEI of 3. This means that an eruption produces around 0.02 cubic miles of material. Historic volcanic eruptions, like the 1991 eruption of Pinatubo in the Philippines, clocked in at around VEI of 6 or 2.4 cubic miles of material. So if VEI 8, the capacity of a supervolcano, would be absolutely unimaginable. The 3 supervolcanoes in the US are in Valles Caldera in northern New Mexico, Long Valley Caldera in eastern California, and Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone
have one.
not to be the most capable of damage. The good news is the supervolcano at Yellowstone only erupts about once every 750,000 years. The not-so-good news is the last eruption was 640,000 years ago. Sleep tight. Did you know these crazy US geography facts? Let us know your favorite in the comments below.
What a good video, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a really cool video. I absolutely love the infographic show. These videos are fucking awesome, man. They were really, really cool facts. I think I'm going to do a video on volcanoes around America, man. That's something I haven't touched in on yet. Feel like it could be cool. Either way, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Before you go, please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And subscribe if you want to see more. It helps me more than you know. Have yourself a good one. Peace.